Hello, Moe here, the Lethal 12. Okay, I'm gonna talk about Lockdown. TNA Lockdown last night was actually a great show. There was some ups and downs here and there, but the show was pretty good. It was some of the matches I kind of knew who was gonna win. Um, but I think some of the matches of the night had to be those X Division matches. We had a six-man tag with Daniels, Kazarian, and Chris Sabin taking on three Japanese wrestlers from Wrestle 1, which includes the legendary Great Muta. I forgot the other guy's name. One of them is actually the X Division champion, but it was a great match. I love seeing, it kind of reminds me of the days of WCW and their cruiserweight division. Because you had a lot of Japanese wrestlers coming in to WCW, and they tore they tore the roof off. High flying action, a lot of quickness. It was just insane. But the guys of Wrestle 1, they got the win. Sabin, Daniels, and Kazarian went to try to use their tactics, their cheap tactics, but it didn't pay off. Excuse me. Great Muta actually used the mist, and remember, everything locked down is all in the cage, so anything goes. Great Muta used that, sprayed the mist in, I believe it was Kazarian's face, and then that was basically it. Hit their moves, and they got the win. It was a great matchup, and I definitely look forward to seeing more of this. Also, you had another X Division matchup, the debut of Tigre Uno taking on Manic. And that was a great matchup between the two of them. We saw them again, some high-flying moves. They used the cage. It was just all sorts of action. We saw great moves. The two of them, well, actually, let me just say this. Manic and Tigre Uno put on one hell of a match. But Tigre Uno actually got the win with that saber-tooth splash, like a corkscrew 450 splash off the top rope. Very impressive. Gotta give it up for both men. Yeah, Anderson versus Samuel Shaw. Anderson basically had the win. But just as he was about to escape the cage, Samuel Shaw grabs Christy Hemme through the cage. On the cage here, there's a hole that when the camera guy puts his camera through so he can get to the action. He grabs it, pulls her through the hole and into the ring. That means Anderson had to go back inside and save Christy. And at the time, the ref was down because they nailed the cage door. And just as Anderson got Christy safely out of the cage, Anderson got nailed with the low blow. And then that chokehold-like submission hold from Sam Shaw. And he walks out the cage and gets the win. Also, I think another match was probably a candidate for match of the night. Gunner, James Storm, the last man standing match. It started outside the cage before the bell even rang. They fought out. We saw chairs. We saw the cage being used. And then they finally got in the ring inside the cage. Match starts. We saw numbers of weapons from parts of the steel steps, chairs, garbage cans, but it was the one move. Storm set up two unfolded chairs like this, chairs facing each other, and he was going to do probably a power bomb or something on those chairs, but it was countered. They ended up being both on the top rope. Gunner hits a superplex through the chairs, and they were both down. Remember the last man standing match rules. You have to answer the 10 count to stay in the game, to stay in the match. The one that doesn't answer it ends up losing. The opponent wins. Gunner used one of the chairs to brace himself up, to get on his feet. Storm did not answer the 10 count. Gunner got the win. Great effort for both men. I'm really hoping, maybe we're going to see more of that. You never know. And I'm hopefully one of these two, hey, they might be next in line for the title. Speaking of the title, world title match between Magnus and Samoa Joe. Well, actually, no, before I get to that, there's another match I gotta explain before. The Knockouts title, speaking of titles, I should say that. The Knockouts title between Madison Rayne and Gail Kim. Lady Topper was outside the cage, so she really couldn't get involved, thankfully. She tried to climb the cage, tried to distract Madison Rayne, but that backfired. Great effort. We saw some moves used from top rope and top turnbuckle. Gail Kim at one point hit a neck breaker from the top rope onto Madison Rayne, but that didn't finish her off. She even went for a finishing move to eat the feet, but it was countered. Madison Rayne dropped her, and then Madison got the win. Now, I'm sorry, I can't remember exactly what happened, though, so that's why I'm kind of stumbling a little. I should have, if I did this yesterday, I would have gotten it like that. But Madison Rayne, she was able to get the win and to hold on to her title. Then you got the world title match with Joe and Magnus, Samoa Joe, and it was brutality. We saw bloodshed from both men. At one point, Joe had the match won. We saw, remember, it was Joe's rules nonetheless: submissions, tap outs, or knockouts. No pinfalls. You had to submit your opponent, either not verbally submitting or making them tap out, or knock them out. At one point, Joe had the win. He nailed the muscle buster. Then he was locking in the Kikita clutch, his rear naked choke. But out of nowhere, a hand goes through the ring, abducting Samoa Joe, basically dragging him to hell through the ring. Nobody knew what it was. I kind of knew what it was because from what the person was wearing. They're down there for a few moments. The fans are not happy. Up comes Joe, very angry. The other person that was still trying to drag him down. Joe goes after Madness, tries to choke him out. But behind him, coming above and into the ring, was none other than the monster Abyss, unmasked, and with that weapon, Janice, the 2x4 with those pins and needles and stuff sticking out, nailing Joe, taking him out, hitting the black hole slam, and he was knocked out. Madness was just, and then Madness just sweetens the thing. He locks in the rear naked choke on Joe, just to satisfy it and just to rub it in. Joe was already knocked out, so it didn't matter. Madness ended up getting the win, and it looked like Abyss is siding with Magnus and Dixie Carter. I think, personally, I kind of think, you're looking at that, I think that's their TNA's counteract to WWE with Kane, when he came from a monster to the corporate side, and become the corporate Kane, or I call the Manchurian Kane to date. I think now they're doing the same thing with Abyss. And then because we got the Lethal Lockdown match, Team MVP, Team Dixie. Team Dixie had the man advantage. It started with, let me see, it was Austin Aries versus MVP at first, and they started out. And then next coming out was Robbie E. Then it was from MVP team Eddie Edwards. Then Jesse Goddard and then it was Davey Richards, and then Bobby Roode. Now the word on the street was, early in the night, Dixie Carter stated that Jeff Hardy would not be in that match. They got security and stuff locked up. The security was tight around the building, making sure Jeff Hardy was not in the ring, not in the building, because he was in breach of his contract when he left. But then what happens is this: when the fourth and the last guy, Team MVP, came out, it turned out to be Jeff Hardy as the new character, Willow. Caught him on top of the cage, diving onto members of Team Dixie. But then Team Dixie Carter had another trick up her sleeve. She had an insurance policy, a special referee, Bully Ray. He comes out with the table, brings it in, but he was calling it right down the middle, surprisingly. He called it right down the middle for a while. A lot of near falls, a lot of close wins. But here was the turning point. Rude, well actually, what I should say is, after all the members came in, the roof came down with the weapons. And Team Dixie was kind of in control. And there was one point that this happened. Even we saw Austin Aries hit a brain buster on a chair to one of the guys. But like I said, now the turning point. Bobby Roode was going to go for the Roode bomb through the table. He set it up. And as he was about to hit, so you had MVP on his shoulders, Bully Ray stepped in front of him to distract him, prevent him from putting him through the table. And Roode was pissed. Shoving Bully Ray. Bully Ray drops him with the Uranagi. MVP sees he's kind of in shock. And then hits him with the drive-by boot. Hits Roode with the drive-by boot. Gets the win for Team MVP. Bully Ray raises everybody's arms. Declare them winners. MVP is now the controller. He is now controlling the wrestling operations for TNA. That was the stipulation. Afterwards, Dixie Carter stormed down to the ring and yelled at Bully Ray. She was so pissed off. But then after that, Bully Ray then turns his attention to Bobby Roode and powerbombed him through the table. And that was it. And I was looking through Twitter, looking through Facebook, and there was a lot of positivity about TNA Lockdown. It's like the first time in a long time a TNA Impact Wrestling show or pay-per-view had a lot of positive feedback. Because within the last number of years, it's been terrible. Now, we got to see what happens Thursday night. Oh, you know what? And I just remembered something. EC3 was supposed to face Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle had the surgery. He couldn't compete. So EC3 had an open challenge, and answering the challenge was Bobby Lashley, and he took out EC3. And that was it, I should say. I'm sorry, I kind of, trying to remember everything but like I said, a lot of positive feedback. I mean, the one downer was the world title match. I mean, I expected something fishy to go down, but not like that. But other than that, it was actually a great pay-per-view. Maybe TNA has a chance of surviving. And now with MVP as the director of the wrestling operations, let's see how this goes. Thursday night, and from here on out. Maybe this will be something positive. Maybe TNA can get back on track in competition with the other wrestling companies. Then again, maybe it won't. We'll see what happens. Alright, that's it for me. I'll see y'all. Peace.